YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got a good video because we are jumping into a really good question. Why is the NBA world absolutely sleeping on this year's Boston Celtics? We're gonna get into that question. I'm gonna give you sort of my take on it, and maybe I can do my best to explain how dumb the NBA world is for sleeping on this team. We're gonna get into all that on today's video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video, and then comment down below if you have the answer. I'm gonna do my best to answer it. Let's see if you guys have the answer. Comment down below, why do you guys think the NBA world is sleeping on this team? So before we even get to, I guess, the team we have in front of us, this upcoming season, Celtics, I kind of want to rewind just a little bit because that's where this needs to start. Just a couple seasons ago, 2 years ago, 2 playoffs ago, the Celtics were in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they pretty much had to fumble it to not make it to the finals. Like, they should have been in the finals. Now, they blew it. They got beat by Miami. They absolutely got outworked, outcoached, outplayed, everything under the sun. Miami did better than the Celtics, and they went to the NBA Finals. They outplayed the Raptors right before that series, and then before that, they swept the Philadelphia 76ers, who now are just, I guess, common consensus, better than the Celtics. And before I even get into any of the, the Celtics versus this team, or speaking on other teams, I want to make it clear when I say the NBA world's sleeping on the Celtics, I want to make it clear that I'm saying they're sleeping on the Celtics. I'm not saying that they're going to go out there and win the NBA championship, or, win the Eastern Conference Finals, make it to the conference finals, anything like that. I'm not making any guarantees. But when you look at sort of the odds to win the championship, odds to win the NBA Finals, Vegas setting the line at 47 wins for the Celtics this year, all those sort of point in one direction to me. It's that no one expects much from the Celtics. And that's where I kind of get this idea of, well, they're sleeping on them because they think they're going to be a middle of the road team. So that's where I'm coming from with this entire video and this entire take. So I want that to be clear because I'm going to compare them to a couple teams and mention some other teams in the league in this video. And I'm not making any guarantees that, the Celtics are better than the Sixers or any other teams mentioned. I'm just making the counterpoint that, well, it's not a guarantee that that team is better than the Celtics either. But if you looked at any sort of odds and where NBA fans probably fall on to ranking the Celtics, it's like, oh my God, the Celtics are dog water compared to that team, which I don't think is the case, and which I think absolutely points at this team being slept on. So again, that first point I want to drill down is, where were they just a couple years ago? Like less than 2 years ago, 2 seasons ago, they almost made it to the finals. And then you go to this season, this past year I'm talking about, and they had a terrible year. I'm not going to deny that. They had a god-awful year. Everything that could have gone wrong for the 2020-2021 Celtics literally went wrong. And they were a 7th seed, which is absolutely underwhelming expectations. That's not where they should have been. It was a bad year. Injuries, COVID, coaching, anything you want to throw as an excuse out there, guess what? Part of it's true. So if it took the worst year in recent memory and they were a playoff team and they were a 7th seed, then why are some podcasts and why are some people on social media saying that this is going to be a 10th seed ball club? They got so much worse. They lost Kemba Walker, blah, blah, blah. We're going to get into all of that, but I just don't understand the logic of they were there a couple seasons ago. They had a terrible year the next year, and all of a sudden that just rewrites the franchise. Like, that's the starting point now. Is it that hard to just see that, you know what, that year may have been more of an anomaly than the year before? Like, last year may have been just a one-off type year, and maybe the Celtics get back to competing the next season. And I use that word maybe because, again, I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm just countering the guarantee on the other side, which the NBA world seems to have drilled through to everyone's brain. Again, 7th seed isn't where we wanted them. It's where we don't want them there this year. We want them to be better. I get it. But every single thing went wrong last year. You know what? They led the league by far in COVID days missed and everything like that. Like, everything went wrong, and they were still a 7th seed. So if worst case scenario was last year and they were a 7th seed, it's crazy to me that people are saying they're going to be like a 10th seed this year. But all right. Enough of last year, the year before. I kind of want to tie it back into this year and why I do think that, that sort of stigma or that negative connotation to the Celtics really doesn't deserve to be there. If you look at this offseason, people are saying, oh, it was a quiet offseason. They didn't go get a big name. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. If someone thinks that the Celtics had a quiet offseason, you need to get your ears checked. The Celtics had a ridiculously filled offseason. It started by getting rid of their coach making him their GM, meaning they got rid of their GM too, and they traded their third best player, and that was the first of many trades. Like, the Celtics had everything but a quiet offseason this year, and you're crazy if you think, you know, every single move, every time Brad made a move, they started to get worse and worse and worse and worse. Like, I see it all the time. Oh, the Celtics made a lot of moves, but they lost talent. Yeah, they lost a lot of talent, but I think they gained back plenty of talent. The one thing I'll say is Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier, maybe those two names leaving or being traded, those could be your top-end talent that you kind of lost. But then when you look at the other names, you know, Tristan Thompson, Semi Ojeleye, Carson Edwards, whoever else they lost this offseason, the guys that they brought in as a whole, I think add up to actually adding more talent to this team. Sure, you didn't get back a Kemba Walker-esque player, but by the time Kemba Walker was traded, 90% of Boston wanted him out of here because he just wasn't fitting, and he was making a lot of money, and he really wasn't worth that on the court. I was one of Kemba Walker's last people defending him. And even still, I started to turn on him. And when I saw the trade, I said, you know what? That just makes sense. But no. The NBA world thinks the Celtics were clawing at the window, being like,
don't leave, Kemba, don't leave, please.
No. It put a smile on people's faces when they saw him out of there. You think he was really that good for us fans that watched him night in and night out? When he was healthy? No, we were all right with him leaving. So yeah, you know, he's an all-star type caliber player. They didn't necessarily get that back yet, but as I go through these names, I hope you see that maybe they lost some off the top, but when you look at the top all the way through the bottom of the guys they brought in this year, I think all of a sudden that top starts to matter less and less because you have a group of guys that you're bringing in now that are all better than the group of guys that you lost as a group. And if that doesn't make sense, I'm pretty much saying their overall additions are better than their overall losses if you weight it all together. Fournier, that's a guy I wanted to stay. I made a video about saying that should be like the Celtics offseason goal numero uno. I wanted Evan Fournier here. Great first name. Same first name as me. I wanted him here. I can admit that. But I wanted him here because of the what if. You know, Evan Fournier played like a game and a half for the Celtics, it seemed. You know, he was out with COVID, never really came back and sort of involved in the offense, anything like that. And that's not his fault. He was sick. He had a half a year to do it to begin with. Like, I get it. But to go out there and be like, oh my God, the Celtics are so much worse because they lost Evan Fournier. He barely played. He was barely an addition in the first place. And it pains me to say that because I was looking forward to seeing him in green and playing and getting to know Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, all of that. But you can't say they lost Evan Fournier if he was never really there. And then, like I said, you have Tristan Thompson, Semi Ojeleye, Carson Edwards. These losses that really aren't losses at all. So of the, 5 guys that I'm actually touching on here, Kemba Walker, maybe I'll give it to you. That's a decent loss. Evan Fournier, same thing. But as I go through the next names, I think we have way more depth to add to the addition part of this than we did for the subtraction part. Josh Richardson, Dennis Schroeder, Al Horford, Enes Kanter, Juancho Hernan-Gomez. You can even maybe say Bruno Fernando. Like, these are all guys that could play for the Celtics. You're now bringing in guys from day one that can be a factor. Josh Richardson, Dennis Schroeder, Enes Kanter, Al Horford, Juancho Hernan-Gomez. These are names that you wouldn't roll your eyes if you see them rolled out and playing a good chunk of minutes every single night. I rolled my eyes when Semi Ojeleye would play 20 minutes. I rolled my eyes when Carson Edwards would somehow get first quarter minutes and then not play at the end of the game or anything like that. This team added so much more depth that it kind of erased the top end miss of talent. And speaking of top end, you kept the top of the top. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, as they go into another season of basketball, why is the NBA world just acting like they're not going to get any better or they're not going to improve different parts of their game? I don't understand why people do that, and I'm probably guilty of it too in the past. You forget about the players on the team when you want to look at how much better they got this offseason. No one ever accounts for, well, Jason Tatum could be better, Jaylen Brown could be better. Do you know how much that would mean to the team if those guys just took another step up? Even if they went up there on their tippy toes and took a 1-inch leap. That's so huge for the Celtics, as those are their 2 best players. So another year of them can't just go understated that, oh, well, the Celtics aren't going to be better because they lost Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. No, they added a lot of names, and their 2 best players are still here for a while, still young, and still just getting better every single season. And again, I do have to kind of rope this back in and continue to explain why I'm saying the NBA world is sleeping on the Celtics. And it comes down to this. Vegas has them at 47 wins right now. That to me that's a middle of the road team. You're going to win a few more games than you lose every single year, which whatever. I'm not going to argue that because there's no sort of relativity there to other teams, right? But where there is, if you look at the odds to win the Eastern Conference Finals and the odds to win the NBA Finals, you're seeing teams on both of those lists like the Hawks, in some cases the Knicks, definitely the Sixers are there, Mavericks for the finals odds. Like these teams that are landslide favorites over the Celtics to accomplish their goals, either winning the finals or Eastern Conference Finals. It's like, who decided that, hey, you know what? Hook, line, and sinker, we're stamping it in, concreting it, not penciling it in, penning it in, that the Knicks, the Hawks, the Sixers, the Bulls, these are teams that are better than the Celtics. And I'm not saying they won't be better than the Celtics. Kind of, you know, full circle back to the beginning of the video. I'm not saying that the Sixers won't be better than the Celtics. But to say that it's just concrete, like it's already a done deal, that's where you lose me. The Celtics just swept the Sixers a couple of years ago, right? The Hawks just became good. The Knicks, same situation. Like, I don't get where hey, you know what? That team's definitely better than the Celtics. The Celtics have no chance playing them in the series, anything like that. That's where I don't get the logic. And that's why I think this team is being slept on, because they're already deciding that these teams are definitely better than the Celtics, where in my book, they're on very similar playing fields. Like, I think the Celtics play the Hawks. I think they play the Knicks, even the Sixers. I think that that's a decent series, a hard-fought series, but the way the odds are looking, it's a clean sweep, and the Celtics aren't winning. And it's just a little frustrating. As an obviously huge Celtics fan, there's bias involved here, but I'm looking at numbers that just don't seem to make sense. So yeah, I mean, I know I didn't answer the question as to why the Celtics are being slept on, but I hope I countered it a little bit. This team is better than people think, and the NBA world is sleeping on them. But I'm just going to let them snooze. Let the Celtics be the underdogs. Let them open some eyes from a deep hibernation this season. Mark my words. Let's see it happen. If you guys like that video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video, and then comment down below what you think. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.